program is intended for mature audiences.
Wow. Cash. Los Angeles. Rock and roll. My money.
When will they stop?
Well, now. Long Beach, clear skies.
And now, on with the show.
Giddy up. It's Mornings on the Beach, your Saturday, Sunday morning refreshment right here for your breakfast time.
Yippee.
I'm Danny Lemos.
I'm Mike Stark.
I'm Melanie Ray.
And to bring some light into your ever-darkening world, at least that's the way it seems, doesn't it? We're here to provide that for you and to let you know about the new Barbie that actually may be very much like you. And we'll tell you how and why coming on up on the show.
Wow. Well, a bunch of evil heavy metal musicians got together last weekend, and they raised $190 million for Parkinson's research.
So evil.
Wow.
That's great.
And if you want to hear some positive stuff, I got an interview coming up with someone who's working in our community to make lives better.
I think it's great. We just met her, and you're going to meet her too. But in the meantime, like I said, it seems like the world is ever darkening out there. And all we'd have to do is to spin the wheel and find one. Let's just see. Let's spin it. Let's see where that ends up here. Oh, the story is federal judge places new block on Trump's ban on birthright citizenship.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, it brought a little bit of hope to my week because what it boils down to is, of course, Trump wanted them to say we can go ahead and make all the naturalized or born citizens here get rid of their status. But in the meantime, the Supreme Court left a door open for class action lawsuits because you can't continue. If it's against one person, that's one thing. But if it's against a class of people, hold up. So now it's on hold for 30
interesting.
days. So that gives me a little hope.
Absolutely.
They're starting to feel like we are weary of all this stuff. Wow.
Right. Well, class action right there is a little unification.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But still, it just makes you wonder about the ban on birthright citizenship. Like, you don't have anything more important to do?
No, they don't. This was the whole point.
Yeah, and I guess so. And I wonder, as he's one of those narcissists that you have to be liking him for him to like you. So with half the country, or even more of that now, more than half the country not liking him, you wonder if he's sitting there scratching his head going, well, maybe this Project 2025 stuff is a little too... And then we hear of the waffling. He just starts saying, well, maybe not everybody.
The taco?
Yeah, happening according to sources with immigration as well. He's back saying, wait a minute. And then there's an interesting article today in The Atlantic. And it was about Stephen Miller, who I did not know went to Santa Monica High School.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this, that he grew up here.
There's some great clips of him in high school, too.
And these people are talking about how can you feel that way when you were raised here? But apparently there are clips on YouTube of him when he was in high school talking about
this crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff. And it's back then diversity. Again, he's attacking.
Right. You know what it means? He got rejected by a woman or a man of color. And then that's the root to his whole rage. That's what we're being governed by wham boys.
I hadn't thought of that, but you know what? That makes more sense than anything else.
No, do you see the videos of guys that walk up to women and the women say, I'm not interested, and then the guys yell at them? It's a thing. They call them names. It's a thing. And then they get into politics and they get to legislate for us.
And that makes sense.
Look at him. He looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? It's
well,
just
when he was in high school, he had a full head of hair.
I don't care.
But
He's a future Mr. Burns.
Because to me, it's like there's two things that motivate men: sex and money.
Yeah,
that's a bit. And if it's not one, it's going to be the other somewhere deep down. So that kind of makes sense to me about Steve Miller. Poor guy. He's so upset about it.
We're all being governed by their wounds is the problem.
Yeah. Speaking of wounds, did you see them pulling that patient out of the hospital in Glendale, trying to yank this woman out of... Actually, she's in an examination room, and they're having a struggle at the door. ICE is having a struggle with her.
Brother.
And then another one was waiting 6 days outside the hospital for this woman to come out.
Right.
What is...
And that's keeping us safe. That's keeping America safe.
No, but it's certainly keeping us focused. That's for sure. Because, you see about this. And this is nurses at the Glendale Hospital are demanding that the ICE agents be kept out.
Well, have you seen there's been a couple of them. One was in Pasadena, and then there was another one yesterday, I don't know, where they're finding where the ICE agents are in the hotel, and they're driving them out of hotels. Yeah. And they're also coming to the defense of people who are being kidnapped and chasing off the ICE agents, which is interesting because it's the militia I don't know if I can say the word on wusses. Where like all it takes is a group and they go, and they run away because they're cowards, right? These are the January 6th mentality.
I just think that it's the same technique they're using across the street at the 7-Eleven. They're playing classical music all night long at the hotel where they're staying.
Right.
But the people are driving because ICE is the new Gestapo, right? And the people are driving them out. And if you read, I read a lot about revolutions, and I've read about the Russian Revolution. And people drove, it didn't go well in the big picture, but still, right? Individuals were driving militant forces out.
Yes.
So it can happen, people. There's more of us than them. Just
and this
saying.
is a news commentary program. She's not advocating revolution because
this is my opinion.
Opinion only.
Period.
Really. So if you're going
Melanie
to get
Ray,
her, she's the one on the left.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about that. Good Lord, because we want to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And I feel sometimes like we don't do enough, and yet here we are once a week, and I try to get it all in.
Well, it's interesting. It's like grief, I noticed, because I was talking to a friend of mine, and, we're having she lives in New York. We're having the small talk. Oh, how are you? How are you? And we're both thinking about the elephant in the room, which is the terrifying things going on in the country. Neither of us want to bring it up because we don't want to upset the other one, but the other one's thinking about it anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of got that power where you don't want to talk about it and get too dark, but it's dark. Let's talk about it.
And exactly.
Drag that elephant out, folks.
Or let us talk about it and you soak it all in.
And continue drinking your coffee.
Or something else.
And there are people that they reach out to us and tell us that they feel like we feel, so we're on the money with that. Uh-huh. Hopefully you'll get it expressed as well. But if you'd like to keep us going, we're going to give you information about our new fundraising campaign, which has started.
Nice.
Notice how I segue there?
Nice.
In the meantime, while continuing our segment on news commentary, let's spin the wheel one more time and see where we land.
Sounds like
another piece of good news. The U.S. Supreme Court declines to let Florida enforce the immigration crackdown.
Oh.
Another door open. They're just, again, saying, no, hold on, wait a minute. And, of course, they're using their own guidelines, which is they can hold off for 30 days enforcement. So Trump was hoping they'd let him go right away, and they started enforcing immediately. But they said, hold up. And I think it's probably because there's a sentiment out there. And hopefully we're all feeling that way. At least a majority of us are. So, but they denied a request by state officials to lift an order by Florida-based U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams that barred them from carrying out arrests and prosecutions under the law while a legal challenge plays out in lower courts. Once again, a little door open.
We like words like block and deny.
And we forget, as we get all crazy about the headline, wait a minute, let this sift out for a bit to see, what really becomes of it. Well, Trump signs another executive order.
Right.
For this and for that. If you don't read Andy Borowitz, I recommend it. The reason I thought about it is because his headline today. Hang on one second while I scroll. Here we go. Bondi calls Epstein list as non-existent as Trump's healthcare plan.
Right.
Oh my God! And again, that's another story this week.
Yeah.
About how MAGA's going crazy because they feel like they've been betrayed with this Epstein thing. All of a sudden it existed. We've got copies right here on our desk, and we're going to release them. And all of a sudden, bloop, bloop, bloop. Sorry. Right. That was a mistake.
And these people that are gaslighting in the administration are the same ones that before all of this were asking for total transparency about the Epstein list and all of that. And now they're covering up. And I only see one reason for them covering it up, to be honest with you.
Well, we all know.
Go ahead.
The man is in the list.
Yes. Well, we all know. We all know he's there.
Well, I just can't imagine that they... What would turn the table? Melanie always reminds us what would happen if this is a Democrat.
Yeah.
So lock her up. Was all they screamed Benghazi. They screamed for 8 solid months.
Clinton got a blowjob from an adult, and it was all we could talk about in the 90s. Right? It was all we could talk about.
Don't hold back.
Oh, sorry. And now here's photos of Trump surrounded by young women, minor women, Epstein himself, and many comments. Trump's made many comments about Epstein liking younger women. They flew there on the Lolita Express. So anyone who pretends they didn't know what was going on, and that includes people who I personally like, is full of it.
And your FAA FAA experts will tell you that any international flight has to have a passenger manifest. So they've got copies of who was on those planes.
Yeah, where's that?
Come on.
So weird how someone killed or Epstein killed himself over no evidence. Isn't that interesting?
Right.
And let me say this too as a woman, because a woman takes the fault. Women are to blame for everything ultimately, right? Which is why we're being stripped of our rights, which is why all these things. And who is the one person in jail for all of this? Is a woman. Now, I'm not saying she shouldn't be in jail, but I'm saying she's the only one out of all these people who raped young girls, which is what it is, and all the people, including women, who turned their heads when they knew it was happening. The only person who took a fall is a woman. And Trump, by the way, wished her the best.
You know, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's she talking about? And MAGA's going nuts about that. In other words, if he's not guilty, then why is she in jail?
Absolutely.
You know,
because
taking that point.
Yeah.
So that's the last time you saw Melanie agree with a MAGA.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But at the one time.
My world is shaken.
And she said stripped, and that's indeed what got done this past week when Ted Cruz signed the document that said the big, beautiful bill that also included $150 million taken away from the weather forecasting budget of the country. And then Texas floods happen.
Well, he was gone, by the way.
He was in Greece. I love the fact that every time something goes on there,
let's bring that up.
Somewhere else on vacation.
How often do you think this guy vacations? I'm just saying.
Well, he vacations at the wrong time.
Right.
Every time.
And they're freezing and they're drowning. He's gone.
So that's what was going on in the week. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we got a
Go Red States.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I'm getting angrier as the months go by.
There's a little bit of a fire in her chair.
Yes.
Settle down. Settle down.
We got a great song.
Oh, don't tell me this. Man just told me to settle down.
So well.
It doesn't help. Okay.
That's true. It doesn't.
Do you not have a wife, Mike?
I do.
What's
Yeah. What was I thinking?
Come on, man.
What was I thinking?
And I walked over here from an attorney's house.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
We better get to music.
Yeah.
Well, this is an appropriate tune
Hit me with the Barbie story, Nick.
for everything we've talked about in this past segment. I heard this actually already on the air here at KLBP. I was shocked because I submitted it for the show.
I liked it so much.
Next thing I know, it's on
Right
the
on
air.
the air, yep.
But this is Kelly's Lot, local band, and a song called Bully. I wonder who that's about.
Yeah. It's Mornings on the Beach.
That's Kelly Z and Kelly's Lot and a song called Bully.
That's so good. I loved it. It's so perfect, too, for this segment.
For this administration.
However, getting along in the feel-good segment here, Melanie's got it at the top because the only good news this week that we could find is about fungus. This is amazing to me.
It is. Well, I've heard about it a couple times. And
Yeah.
it's fungus that eats plastic.
I love it.
Because, of course, there's a big plastic island in the ocean. There's all these things still going on because plastic just doesn't break down. But there's fungus that eats it and turns it into, I forget the word, but it can go into the soil.
It's a long word.
It's a long, there's a bunch of vowels and things, some G's and Y's. But it eats the plastic and it breaks it down into enriching soil. And I also read an article that was about including this element in diapers. So that when diapers, because lots of landfills are diapers, and that so that when they get, including whatever, I mean, you want to say mushroom diapers, ew. But really, we got fungus on everything. Let's admit it. Everything we touch is gross. So let's just get that out of your head. But putting some element into diapers so that when it begins to break down, the fungus wakes up and eats the plastic.
Cool.
So when we're gone, fungus will be next.
So much plastic in the landfills, so that makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's possible that we could start breaking that stuff down. And then there's word this week that, of course, even bottles, as you heat them up, emit these carcinogens that come from plastic.
Everything's killing us.
So I just remind myself, you know what? Just give us one win a week, which is the fungus that eats plastic. And then maybe, how about a hamburger that reduces cholesterol? That would be awesome. And I'd be happy. I wouldn't eat anything else. That'd be fine. Or cheesecake that doesn't give you diabetes. That would be awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, I only want small things.
Way to make it about you, Danny.
Yeah, there you go. See? And I'll continue, if I may, because
Please.
climate change is not only affecting the planet,
but it's affecting Danny.
It's affecting me because it's affecting my cheese. Did you hear about this?
No.
So climate change is affecting the taste of cheese, science and researchers say.
All right, I've had enough.
Because they're trying to get them away from grazing on grass, which soon won't, it's too hot, it won't grow. What do we do? So they're feeding them corn. And they thought, this is great, they're eating it. Well, of course, they're cows, they'll eat whatever you put in front of them. However, when they produce the milk that produces the cheese, the taste is noticeable and different, they say.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, grass everywhere, please. If that's enough reason for me to stop driving a car. I want my cheese. I got to have my cheese.
Right.
Yeah, you ever fight your doctor? Like when your doctor says, oh, you know you got to cut out that, you got to cut out that. When it came to cheese, no, I said, that's an end of discussion.
Right, move on, Doc.
Yeah, really.
That's funny.
Life's not worth living without cheese and without bacon. That's just my own personal opinion.
I'm with you on the bacon.
However, there is news if you have little ones at home, especially little girls, but little boys too, that might like Barbie. Mm-hmm. There's a new Barbie on the market, and this is coming out of BBC UK News, and they're saying that this Barbie is patterned so that little girls and little boys who have type 1 diabetes might feel more at home. Barbie will now
I
come
saw that.
with diabetes. No, the first thing I thought is how do they do
does
that?
No cheesecake for her.
How does that
That's
manifest
exactly it.
itself?
Well, in her dress, good thing you asked, because she's got the symbol of diabetes, blue and white on her dress in polka dots. That's the big sort of thing now, the flag, I guess. So that's the way he'll do it. And then she comes with a little thing on her belt, a little belt sugar measuring device, right? Glucosemometer.
I have a
glucometer.
friend whose daughter has type 1
my
diabetes.
God.
And I've seen I don't know what you call it, this little mechanism that's kind of attached to the back that basically for what their pancreas doesn't do, right? And my friend had a remote control, and she would give her snacks and then hit her with the insulin.
Zap her.
And that box
Wow.
does that. And she's the reason I know that story, because she posted it and said, thank you, Mattel, for representation.
Really?
It matters.
See, it does matter, and that's her point, that this needs to be, little girls will feel less self-conscious. Barbie even comes with one of those things on her arm that automatically measures the sugar.
Yeah.
Wow, they really getting, the best that I think when I was a kid Barbie had was shoes that would come on and off. That was it.
So all of that and still no genitals.
Those you can get those in a different store. Those Barbies are sold elsewhere. He has tears in his eyes.
There's no bathroom down here. That's all I'm saying. But July, if you're if you're in Home Depot in July, you normally see Halloween decorations. And why do you do that? Because normally in July, Home Depot always does our halfway to Halloween sale, right? This year, no Halloween decorations and no skeletons, those 12-foot high ones.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Why?
Tariffs. Apparently, those things come from overseas, China, Taiwan, Korea.
That's where people are really tall. That's how they get the skeletons.
And that's not going to happen this year, apparently. So there wasn't any halfway to Halloween this year at Home Depot.
One of the reasons we're slaves to all the terrible things going on right now is capitalism.
Well, buying those skeletons.
Well, but I mean, just in general, like buying, too much. I mean, look at the dumping on the streets,
That's true.
right? So,
absolutely true.
So one of the positives, I'm working really hard here for positives, guys. One of the positives may be that we are buying less crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
recently put chairs out on the street. Right, and within days got replacement chairs that somebody else dumped out that were in better shape.
Oh yeah, all my outdoor furniture is stuff I found in the alleys and just painted it and threw it out there.
When the lady says, "You don't want any money for these?" I said, "I didn't pay any money for those."
Right.
10 years ago.
Yeah, that's alley karma there.
Right, and I think that's reuse what you can.
Well, see, speaking of reusing, there's one of those giant skeletons around the corner from my house, and it's out there for Halloween, and then they put a Santa hat on it for Christmas, and then they had
it stays there.
It stays there, and they decorate it for every holiday. So it had a bikini on for the 4th of July. It was holding a baby for Mother's Day.
That's getting your
money's worth. So that's reuse, renew, recycle.
Yeah, absolutely. That is getting your money's worth.
Where do you store that thing when you take it down anyway?
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's play a little bit more music, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit with our very special guest.
Avis.
That's coming up next. But before that,
The Vandaliers, and you can't party with the lights out.
I bet you
Oh, wait a minute. You can't party with the lights on. I don't know.
Whatever, man.
This is Daniel McMahon from Hike Talk Repeat, and you're listening to KLBP-FM, Long Beach.
Mornings on the beach for your Sunday mornings. Danny Lemos right here.
Mike Stark.
Melanie Ray.
And
On the phone with us is Avis. She's a local writer, poet, blogger, activist, and has an interesting event coming up. And I want to get to know her a little better. Hi, Ra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Yeah, excited for the upcoming event.
Oh, for sure. I looked at your website, and you're involved in too many things to list. So hit us with what's most special to you that you do, and what's your event coming up?
Sure. Well, my blog is very close to my heart. The community I've built there over the last, it's been over a decade now, really kind of shapes the framework of everything I do going forward. One of the projects locally that I'm most proud of is Biggest Little Zine Fair, which is it's a zine fair that we do in Long Beach. There are 2 pop-up events, and we get zine makers from all over the world to participate. 100% of the proceeds go back to them. They don't have to do anything but get the zines to us. So it's a great little burst of zine culture in Long Beach. We really enjoy doing that. And my work with prisons, which is both in the form of art that I make and presence in panels and things like that, is also very important to me. And that's what this upcoming event is about.
Oh, really? So tell me a little bit about that work in prison. So are you the one doing the art, or are you helping them, the prisoners, make art?
Oh, I see. No, well, I'm formerly incarcerated. So I write a lot about my experiences when I was inside. Mostly that comes in the form of short essays or lyric essays from my blog, or poems that I tend to perform at events related to carceral activities or in local spaces where I'm sort of like sharpening them at our very diverse Long Beach open mic scene and getting them ready to take to other places.
Wow.
So the event that's coming up does feature art that incorporates people currently incarcerated, but that is done by a friend and artist, Megumi Nakazawa, and she's painting 100 oil portraits of formerly incarcerated or currently incarcerated people. They're incredible, and some of them will be showcased at Page Against the Machine, which will be, I think, Long Beach's first showing of this series, and it's very incredible.
That sounds great. Wow.
And when is that event at Page Against the Machine?
It is Wednesday, July 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. It's free. There's no need to RSVP. So it'll be an art showing with Megumi, Asia Johnson, a director, writer, all-around amazing person. Will be reading her poetry alongside me about our time inside. And then we'll have a panel discussion facilitated by Tony Wallen-Soto, who is a Long Beach-based educator, deeply ingrained in the work of rehabilitation, and he has a book series about poems that he's written as he's picked people up from prison. And he'll be facilitating the discussion, but also taking questions from the crowd in case anybody wants to engage more personally with the work.
Well, I think the population that you work with incarcerated people is is a group that's tend to be written off, right? Which I'm sure is the root to your passion. What do you want people to know about that population?
Asia and I often say that probably the most important thing for people to know is that most of us come home. 96% of people who go into the prison system come home. So it is important to think in terms of what we want that experience to shape, right? Once you go inside and you have this experience, you're taking it back home to your community. So what do you want that experience for people to be? How do you want them to be welcomed back into a community? Regardless of how you feel about any of those things, there is just the actual reality that people will be coming back. And so we are here, we're around you. what do you want from that? As a personal example in my writing, I talk a lot about the fact that my husband passed away while I was inside. And, who do you want coming back? A widow who had no access to people and experiences this deep grief on her own? Or do you want somebody who was supported inside and met with resources on the outside, and therefore just a more, stable and loving person in community by default of the care? So I was very lucky to have the latter, but a lot of that was not state assigned. Most of that was not from the state. Almost all of it came from the blog that I mentioned, as well as other people in my community who really just stepped up to meet my needs.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it is who do you want coming back to your community?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective. And recently I've been reading about people who do come back and how it alters their way they live at home. For one example, a gentleman who had come back for after 15 years decided he was more comfortable in a small shack behind his house, which he converted into his man cave. But he said he only felt safe when he was there by himself, which was kind of the duplicate space he had in prison, which was insightful to me that, wow, it's
I
tough to
definitely
come
have a lot
back.
of those experiences.
Really?
I think prison is interesting too for many reasons, but it is also kind of inherently a place of slow craft because we don't have access to so many things. So if you want it, you're making it, and you're making it without real supplies. So it's the painstaking, slow process of creating something.
Wow.
Like I wanted a Christmas tree, a small one, in my cell. So I collected scraps for months and very slowly built them into the shape of a tree. And I do think that is a big reason why, since coming home, I've been so devoted to the more tangible crafts like zine making, where there's something physical in your hand that you're folding. I also have a project called the Kites Library, which is a zine-based project specifically to send zines into people who are currently incarcerated, as well as for organizers out here who are doing the work. So, for example, I have a prison letter writing event coming up in collaboration with Care Collective, which is a local advocacy activism group and book club that puts on a series of social justice-related events. So that's July 24th at Vine.
Wow.
And these types of zines would be set up for organizations like that to be able to really support their members in supporting people inside.
Fantastic. What motivated you to start writing? Was it when you were incarcerated, or was it before that you started blogging?
It was before, but it was after I was accused of a crime. So fighting the case was very expensive, and I kind of, in the process, lost everything I had. I also just felt really disjointed. It was a lot of new information and just a different experience of human life. And my husband started a blog for me because he thought I needed some place to kind of process out ideas. Now, when you're fighting a case, you can't really talk about the details of it. So I wrote about things that I believed were like the center point of who I was as a person. So I wrote a lot about joy, and I wrote a lot about hope, and I wrote a lot about family and community. And the blog built up to very large numbers when, by the time I had to go to prison, I wrote a post being like, "Hi, I love you, but I'm going to prison tomorrow."
Wow.
And all these strangers around the world just, really stepped up. They could have just unsubscribed and moved on with their life, but they wrote letters and sent care packages and would print out TED Talks for me and draw doodles that I could send in, and just very, very supported by readers during that time.
Now, not everybody who comes out goes back into giving back. You obviously made that choice. What motivated that for you?
Well, I think a lot of it is just privilege. I sound how I sound. I exist in worlds where a background check isn't necessarily as vital to my ability to get a job. I don't have to hide the fact that I was formerly incarcerated, and that is because of a series of privileges that many people do not have access to. And so because I don't have to hide that, I get to be a little bit more upfront with my personal history. And I think, my dad used to say that when you see injustice with your own two eyes, that's really the moment where you're making the choice if you're going to be part of the solution or part of the problem, right? And so because I'm not required to hide this element of my past, I do get to engage with people's responses to it or thoughts about it more often. And art seemed like the easiest way to explain things that are a little bit more layered than people understand.
Let's give more information again about the show so we can promote that for sure.
Okay, it's Wednesday, July 16th at Page Against the Machine. It's between 7 and 9 p.m. It's free and no RSVP is required. It'll be hosted and facilitated by Tony Wallen Soto. There will be a poetry reading by Asia Johnson and myself, Avis, as well as an art show by Megumi Nakawaza and, sorry, I said her name wrong again, Megumi Nakazawa. And it'll be featuring from her series, Faces of Mass Incarceration, which people can view in advance at facesofmassincarceration.com.
There's a lot going on in that tiny little space.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for talking to us. And for all the work that you do is just incredible. And it's so important now to focus on people who are taking care of people. And you're one of them.
Yeah,
so thank
really,
you.
Thank you.
I love that.
That's great. Every time we get in the studio, we learn something about Long Beach or its citizens that I knew nothing about. So thank you so much for setting that up.
Well, and I think, too, the news is so big and so scary that you need to remember that there are people on the ground here doing wonderful things and giving where their heart tells them to give.
Right there. And if we made you feel good, well, you can open up your wallets. We'll tell you how coming up next. But first, we got something going on with Black Sabbath this past week, right?
Yeah. Black Sabbath had a final show on July 5th. And everybody that's anybody in metal played there.
I couldn't believe it.
And they closed the show with 5 songs from the original Black Sabbath, including our own Bill Ward,
that was awesome.
who will be back shortly to do another segment of his radio show here at KLBP. But in the process, they were able to raise $190 million for Parkinson's research, which is what Ozzy has right now.
Yeah.
So anybody that, I went through this when I was working at the metal station. Everybody thinks metal people are a bunch of scumbags. And, there's an argument for that. But there are also a lot of great people involved in the metal community. And I learned that really quickly working there. And this is just another example of it.
That's fantastic. I tell you what, with those generous people, I think we should move the format of the station to hard rock and do our appeal. But we also have a song that's highlighted from that,
this was one of the highlights of the show. Ozzy did his own set along with Black Sabbath, but he did his own set before Black Sabbath came out. And this is the one that brought tears to the eyes of all of the folks in the audience. It's called Mama, I'm Coming Home. That's Ozzy Osbourne and Mama, I'm Coming Home.
That's awesome. It's Mornings on the Beach. We told you about our fundraising efforts, and I want to get into that right now for a little bit. What we're trying to do, we would like to add a newsroom. Here, we've got a studio, we've got a production room. It's time to add a newsroom, and we found a location. And we do know that what we need to move into it would be $10,000. So we're on a campaign, and we call it the Power of 100. And that is 100 people giving a donation of $100 each to make that $10,000 goal happen. And I know it can. I know it's a great... We have some great interns that you heard on the air, but you don't see the work that they're doing and they put in to come here once a week, sometimes twice a week to get their work done. And they're on their way to becoming young journalists. We want to give them that opportunity. So if you would like to, and you are able to donate $100, you can do that right away. klbp.org is where you can do that. And I'll tell you what, for the first 50 people after hearing this announcement that donate, we will give you 2 tickets. Is there a drum in the house?
Nicely done.
Thank you. Percussionist.
Where did you hide that? We will give you 2 tickets to our KLBP Harbor Cruise coming up in August.
Yeah, baby.
This is the first time you're hearing about it on the air, and you'll be hearing a lot more about it. But if you'd like to, we'll give you something for your donation. You become an instant member of KLBP and all that goes with it. Those details are on the website. But you're supporting public radio at a time that it is under attack. Right. So that's probably the major point. And helping us create what I'm calling unfake news. It's now time to turn that on them and say there's this thing called truth, and we want to emphasize it here with our young journalists. We don't want to teach them bad habits. We want to teach them how to broadcast and giving them that opportunity that they would not get anywhere else in Los Angeles. They just won't.
Right.
You're not going to let them on the air.
Right.
You're not going to let them do what we let them do here. Research, report. That's all happening right here in our partnership with the Long Beach Journalism Initiative. So once again, we're 100 people out there. There are 498,000 people within the sound of my voice at this moment. There's got to be 100 out there who can spare $100. If you can do that, klbp.org. Go there right now.
Do it.
All right. And the next story has to deal with tipping. So if you're a cheapskate, you're not going to respond to what I just said, but you might respond to this. And this, I want to bring this question to the show. Do you believe now in the way that we have our tipping system, which is when you walk up to the counter and pick up your takeout food, you get a tip, right? They ask you to leave a tip. What do you think about
I don't
all
believe
that?
in it. I don't like that every time you pay with your credit card, it just says 20%.
Right, automatically.
It's like, no, of course, if you're a server or something, I tip there. But like every time I walk up to a counter, I'm supposed to tip you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how do you feel about that? You go when you go out.
It depends my mood at any given time, to be honest with you. But I generally, if I'm at a restaurant and I'm being served, that's just a given.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I always at least give it some thought before I...
Right.
Even the dispensaries.
Is it based on how you feel, right? Don't you think so? Like, I just had a wonderful experience. The server was so attentive, and I want to give them something. That's not a problem. But when I pick up my own food, I have a funny feeling about, am I paying you what your employer won't? Or am I just behind the times? And everybody's doing that now to support the people who work in food service.
Does the person behind the counter get that money?
That's my question. Always my question.
That's always
yeah.
my
When you run your credit card, you know.
And then the argument that this is a service, so you're tipping for the service. But I'll say you this: do I tip my nurse? Do I tip the person who cleaned my teeth?
You don't tip your kid's teacher.
Yeah, you start there.
They're out there wiping noses.
you know, I'll tell you what, because that to me, we have to sort of look at this in a different way. But for those of you who feel that the tip depends on the service you were given, this story is for you, and it might resonate. This is a man who went into a restaurant, and he had a nice meal, but he said, the server was kind of half there, not really. And he says, I did service when I was her age, so maybe she was having a rough time. But he then said, we waited like 20 minutes for her to come back for the dessert, and we didn't think we gotten great service, so I tipped her 10%, right? And he said that she picked up the check and immediately announced to the crowd around her, hey, cheapskate, thanks for that.
So she's just a jerk.
There you go. And then what does he do? He walks back and takes his tip back. He tipped her in cash.
Nice.
Yeah. So and people are saying, one on Reddit, this is where I found the story, people are screaming, oh my God, how can he be so heartless? The other part saying, good for him, just like Melanie said.
Yeah.
So it depends on what side of the coin you're on. But if you're going to give somebody service, don't expect it so blatantly as this young lady apparently did.
Yeah.
Somebody saying, hey, you're not giving me enough. I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I've never done food service because I said people would die if I would kill somebody.
I've always tipped 20% in restaurants unless it really sticks out as an unpleasant experience.
Yeah.
Unless something really goes wrong. But I standard do 20%.
Me too.
But if I'm walking up to a counter and picking up a bag of food, I don't think I need
That's a hard one for me when
I don't
they
think I
turn
need
the
to
screen around at you.
Tip the cashier.
The option that's missing is no tip in cash. It's always missing, in other words, from the credit card purchase. So maybe if you could push that and then give them cash, I always want to hand it to the person so they can keep it. But I know they bucket them all and split them at the end of the night, all that stuff. So that's just one of those things. How do you feel out there, audience? Are you interested in that? Are you tipping? And if you do want to get in touch with us, you always can. I don't know how. I just realized, wait a minute.
Personally,
do we have an email?
Personally, I'm Melanie at klbp.org.
I'm Danny.
So you could email me if Danny doesn't come up with the information.
I love it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, my God. It's just funny. And I'll tell you what, I think that's all we got time for. Oh, yeah, that's all we got time for today. What are you doing for your weekend? Well, I'll tell you what, if it's Sunday, you're staying right here because we got upcoming LA radio sessions.
Yeah, you introduced me last week to a gentleman that I'd already met.
Can you believe it?
Years ago. Yeah. He's the guy that handles the Long Beach music day, right?
Yeah, Make Music Long Beach.
Yeah, and he came in here while we were in here, and I went, yeah. David Sauer is part of a group called One High Five. They were on my show back at the old studio a couple times. Great band, and he's a great artist. And so I pulled out an old interview from 2015, and it really holds up well. So that's going to be on LA radio sessions this weekend.
That's great. All right. Well, for Mornings on the Beach, Danny Lemos right here.
Mike Stark.
Melanie Ray.
And we'll see you next weekend.
And we'll leave you with One High Five and how we enjoy ourselves.
My name is Danny Lemos, and as General Manager of KLBP, I'm organizing the efforts of this community's public radio station at a time when public media is under attack. If you've listened to KLBP recently, you can hear the vibrant programming, but you don't see the strides, the pride, all the sweat and joy that's beneath the on-air sound. And that's the sound of our community voice growing stronger. Now KLBP needs a newsroom and studio dedicated to piercing the untruths and provide unfake news to Long Beach. Here at KLBP, we provide an on-air lab for the next generation of journalists reporting in multiple mediums, and they need a place to do work, so we've created the Power of 100 campaign. That's 100 donations of $100 from 100 generous souls, and this will become a reality. And I know it will. Can you afford to make a tax-deductible donation today? If so, you can do that right now at klbp.org. With your donation, you become an instant member of Long Beach Public Media with everything that comes with it. And those details are on our website, klbp.org. This community radio station belongs to you, and it's always available if you have something to say. Simply reach out to us at info@klbp.org. Thank you.